Everybody, Legend for Life here, bringing you guys a brand new video. Today we got an archetype analysis of Superheavy Samurai. So Superheavy Samurai won the archetype analysis vote from like forever ago by a huge margin. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who likes this archetype because it's so cool. And hey, coincidentally, we are getting some new support, sorta, in the upcoming set. So, let's go ahead and talk about them. What the heck are Superheavy Samurais? Well, first and foremost, you gotta understand that this is a monster mash archetype. They are all monsters. There are no spells and traps, and they are very anti-spell and traps. They don't like to use them, even though some of their best cards can steal your opponent's spell and trap cards and make them used for your own. Due to that, though, this deck suffers greatly from that and relies heavily on hand traps and outside support to be able to really be able to cover that. Because, you know, not being able to play spells and traps really sucks. And before you go, oh, you can play Denko Sekka, well, not Denko Sekka, Sekka's Light. That wonderful draw card, because, hey, you don't care if you can't play any spell and trap cards. The monsters that pretend to be spells in a way become equipped cards, and their effects get negated in the back row thanks to Sekka's Light, and then you also lose the ability to steal your opponent's spell and trap cards and actually be able to use them. So whether or not Sekka's Light is good in the deck is a really big debate, honestly. But, however, I digress. That being said, as I mentioned, there are some monsters that basically act as the archetype spell and traps, that being the Soul Supers, or as I like to call them for short. They're Superheavy Samurai Soul monsters, in that they typically can become equipped cards and then do fun stuff on the back row, and also typically are more supportive to the main Superheavy Samurais. You can also mix them pretty well with some other archetypes. Whenever Shadal are like really big, thanks to their ability to steal back row from like your opponent's graveyard and stuff, you can side in Shadal monsters and be able to make use of like Shekinaga and stuff if you steal your opponent's Shadal fusion. So that's something to consider. And then of course there's other archetypes that work well with them, because they're Earth Machine, so there's plenty of stuff like that as well. Now, the big draw, in addition to all of that, is that they like to be in defense position, and they have typically very high defense, low attack power, and focus on being able to attack while in defense position. Most of the main deck monsters don't actually have that effect where they can attack on defense, and instead rely on the original boss monster, Big Bang K. But, however, most of the extra deck monsters, actually all the extra deck monsters, have the effect to where they can attack while in defense position. So, there is that as well, and that's the whole, like, point. And it's not like the garbage elemental hero that can attack on defense, Rampart Blaster, or oh god, what was the other guy? Shogun something, I forget, who can attack on defense. Those two apply their original attack, not their defense for it. The Superheavy Samurais, though, apply their defense for damage calculation instead of the attack. So this is really, really cool playstyle and a really interesting archetype that has some issues, and we're going to talk about it. First and foremost, let's start off with the lowest of the low. Superheavy Samurai Drum. He's a level 1 machine tuner effect monster, 300 attack, 300 defense. If it's on the field and is destroyed and sent to your graveyard, you can target a Superheavy Samurai monster in your graveyard, except a copy of Drum, special summon it. You can only use this effect of Drum once per turn. Drum is the only level 1 tuner in the archetype, and it's not very good. I would have much rather had it an effect where it can summon itself or something, but however, it being a monster reborn for the archetype is pretty nice, but it's got better options. So, Drum is a debatable one-of for a lot of builds, but he is a really nice little card if you want to play just for being able to make some more synchro options a bit easier, thanks to him being a one-of. Next up, we got Superheavy Samurai... sorry, did I say one of? I meant to say level 1. Next up, we got Superheavy Samurai Helper. Not very helpful one either at that. Level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense. During damage calculation, if your defense position monster battles an opponent's monster while you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, as a quick effect, you can discard this card and target one Superheavy Samurai monster you control other than the battling monster. Your battling monster gains defense equal to that monster's defense during the damage calculation only. And then when an opponent's monster clears a direct attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a Superheavy Samurai in your graveyard, special summon it. So, this card I'm very, very, very mixed on. I like the idea of it. It gets himself in the graveyard for his secondary effect, and then lets you kind of protect yourself in case your opponent is going to go for a kill. which is really nice. And then also, he is, in a way, a sort of honest for the deck. You discard him, target another Super Heavy, and then your Super Heavy that's battling gets the defense buff. The issue is that you're relying on having another Super Heavy Samurai monster out in addition to the one that's battling, and it's just not particularly great, because that is very situational, or, well, you can get that not very triggered very often. It's, at least in my experience. Especially when you got another monster who we're going to cover, who is basically this, but 1,000 times better, because he is a literal honest, kind of. So, Helper, I can see an argument to play, but I don't think he is particularly worth it, and if you do play him, I don't recommend maybe more than one of them. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Blowtorch. He's a level 1, 500 attack, 300 defense. When an opponent's monster declares an attack while you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and target a Super Heavy monster you control, change then the attack target to it, and perform damage calculation. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can change the attack target to this card and perform damage calculation, and he cannot be destroyed by battle. So Blowtorch is a weird one. His effect is not particularly helpful either. He's all about redirecting attacks to him or to other creatures if you discard them from your hand, but it doesn't really do much. Like, it's a nice idea, especially for being able to protect like the Link monster or something, but I don't think is really particularly worth it in that regard, because there's just simply better options for the most part. So I don't think he's really worth playing. I've seen some people test him out. I don't recommend it. Just don't. Please don't play him. Moving on, we got the first of the two Pendulum monsters, Super Heavy Samurai General Coral. He's a level 1, scale 8, 300 attack, 500 defense. Pendulum effect, while you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, this card's pendulum scale... while you have a spell or trap card in your graveyard, this card's pendulum scale becomes 4. Once per turn, when a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate this effect. That monster can make a second attack in a row, even if this card leaves the field. And then, better, honestly, his monster effect is, if you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you contribute up to 2 Super Heavy Samurai monsters, draw that many cards. You can only use this effect of Samurai Coral once per turn. So, this is a really interesting card. For one thing, he's a scale 8. Obviously, they have a low scale as well. So you can pendulum summon pretty much everything except for the boss monster, Big Ben K, which is really, really annoying. But I digress. The effect that you get to just tribute 2 dudes, usually himself included, to draw 2 cards is really, really handy. Now, of course, he's a level 1 Pendulum monster. You're not going to get to Pendulum Summon him very often. In fact, what you can do if you really want to be able to Pendulum Summon him is you can play a Pendulum monster called Marachi something, I can't remember. It's a scale 0 Winged Beast, level 1. That's not particularly great. But, however, it does have a scale 0 Pendulum, so you can reuse Coral multiple times if you want to go that route. I don't typically recommend that because he's not searchable, in the Archetype at least, but I have seen people test around with that, and I have tested it myself. Again, not particularly the greatest. That being said, though, I do think Coral is a good 1-2 of, purely for the fact that you get to draw cards. It just helps you dig through the deck, and is something that the Archetype really, really needs. And also, of course, he's a scale 8, which is really handy if you use him in tandem with the low scale. Now, that being said, this Archetype does have a better high scale option that we will cover in the outside support. Moving on, we got the first of the Super Heavy Samurai Soul monsters, and it's probably the worst one in my opinion. Super Heavy Samurai Soulbreaker Armor. He's a level 1 Earth, 0 attack, 500 defense. You can target 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster you control. Equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. It loses 1,000 defense. Also, it cannot be destroyed by battle. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish all Super Heavy Samurai Soulbreaker Armors from your graveyard, then target 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster on the field whose current defense is lower than its original defense. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference between its current and original defense. This is a weird card, and it's not particularly great. It is nice that you can equip them onto the Link monster and protect the Link monster from being able to be destroyed, but I mean, with how much back row hate there is in the game, it's not going to really make a difference, but it is nice. That being said, though, it doesn't really do much to help out the deck. It is nice that it can protect your dudes, and it does suck that it loses 1,000 defense. But random burn damage, which is something that Archetype just strangely has. Like, there's a good 3 or 4 cards that have random burn damage effects, and this just doesn't do anything. It doesn't help progress the Archetype's playstyle, or help further what it wants to do for its plays. It is a cool idea, though, being able to protect your dudes, but again, there's better options. There's better options. Moving on, we got Superheavy Samurai Soul Horns. He's a level 1, 0 attack, 300 defense. You can target a Superheavy Samurai you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. It can make a second attack during each battle phase. While this card is equipped to a monster by this card's effect, you can special summon this card. You can only use this effect of Superheavy Samurai Soul Horns once per turn. So, while the equipping and the double attacking is not once per turn, the effect of summoning himself from the back row is. Now, this is really, really nice, and something that some of the souls do have, and I wish more of the soul monsters did have it, because it'd be really, really nice being able to just have a bunch of easy to special summon monsters, but they don't. And, but this does give the deck a really nice, easy to special summon dude. Equip him onto somebody, special summon from your back row, and go into link plays, synchro plays, whatever you want to go with. I think the original idea was to be able to just tribute it off for the tribute summon of Big Bang K, but there's better things to do than that. So, it's a debatable one of, in my personal opinion, just purely for the fact that this deck does have a very clogged monster deck. It's very, very, very clogged up because you got to be able to play all the hand traps, especially since you got to make up for that lack of spells and trap cards. So, Soul Horns, I really want to be able to play one of them, maybe even 2, but it's really hard to justify it when you need to make up for so much room for the hand traps and everything. Moving on, we got Superheavy Samurai Soul Beads. It's a 1-of. You can target a Superheavy Samurai you control, equip this card from your hand or your side of the field to that target. Each turn, the first time that monster would be destroyed the first time the monster equipped with this effect would be destroyed by a card effect, it is not destroyed. When a defense position monster is destroyed by battle and sent to your graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, special summon that monster in attack position. So this is pretty handy for being able to protect your dudes from card effects, and also being able to revive them from the graveyard right away if they get destroyed in battle. I really wish it would summon them in defense though, but it just doesn't for some reason, probably for balancing, but oh well. Really, really handy for being able to protect your guys from card effects, especially for the big guys, like your big boss monster, like Susanoo, and also for being able to revive them. And some of the Super Heavies do have a decent amount of attack, so it's not the worst thing in the world if you use it to like bring back one of your boss monsters. And I do recommend playing 2. Moving on, we got Super Heavy Samurai Soul Peacemaker. This is probably the best of the soul monsters, arguably. Okay, no, it's in the top 3. It's in the top 3, easy. He's a level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense. You can target a dude, equip him, yada yada. While this card is equipped to a monster by this effect, monsters your opponent controls cannot attack monsters you control except the equipped monster. So it's another redirect attacking, but that's not the important thing. You can tribute a monster you control equipped with this card by this card's effect. Special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck. This is really, really good. This makes your dude into Lone Fire Blossom. That is really, 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 really good. I cannot stress that enough. You need to play 3. It's a Super Heavy Samurai Soul Lone Fire Blossom is what they really should be calling it. It is that good for what the deck needs because it allows you to get any of them. It doesn't care about the level. It doesn't care about the stats. Just summon a dude just by tributing it equipped onto a dude. Which can trigger some other effects too, and also you can bring out like the dude that summons a dude from your graveyard, and so on and so forth, and allows for all sorts of combos and plays. So definitely do play 3. Speaking of honest from earlier, Super Heavy Samurai Soul Buster Gauntlet is a level 1 Earth Machine, 0 attack, 400 defense. You can target a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of field to that target. It gains 400 defense, big whoop. During each player's damage step, when a defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster you control battles an opponent's monster, and you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Your battling monster's defense becomes double its original defense until the end of the turn. This is basically an honest for the archetype, and is integral to be played in it in order to get over some of the bigger stuff, and also get some of the big damage in. This is a really handy card for the archetype. Handy. Oh god, that was unintentional, but it's a very, very, very good card for the archetype. And getting over annoying nuisances or just being able to just punch for big damage in order to, well, go for no TK. This deck is a very slow and steady, wins the race kind of thing, and Gauntlet helps speed it up big time. That being said, there is an argument to be made for playing 2 of them because monster effects are so easily negated. But however, 3 I just really like personally because it just allows for you to be able to get over big stuff or protect your dudes who are getting attacked. So yeah. Moving on, we got Super Heavy Samurai Soul Claw. Level 2, 500 attack, 500 defense, Earth Machine. Has the standard equip effect that the souls have. Gains 500 attack and defense. Also cannot be destroyed by battle. As I said, there are better cards that allow your dudes to be able to be prevented from being destroyed by battle. Soul Claw is one of them. While it's equipped to a monster, you can special summon it from the back row. So again, it has the special summon effect. Also boosts your guys' attack and defense by 500, and prevents it from being destroyed by battle. This card is not half bad, and is actually worth considering for the archetype for what it wants to do. Really, really handy. Again, with the buns, a really good card overall for the archetype. That being said, again though, the deck is super, super, super like tight on space, so maybe a 1-of at best if you even want to play it as a 1-of. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Soul Fire Suit. Level 2, 800 attack, 800 defense, fire for some reason. I think this is like the only Super Heavy that's not Earth, if I remember correctly. And you can target a Super Heavy Samurai you control, equip it, yada yada yada. The equipped monster's level becomes 5, not that that matters, you're never going to do it. During your player's turn, you can discard this card, then target a defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster you control. Until the end of the turn, it loses 800 defense, but it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. This card is like one of the best hand traps in the archetype because just, oh, hey, you activate Regeki or Lightning Storm, whatever. Okay, I'm going to discard Soul Fire Suit. Sure, I drop by 800 until the end of the turn, but my dude is now immune to your Regeki or Lightning Storm or whatever, and hey, he's also immune to battle, so even though he's weaker for a turn, I don't have to worry about him getting killed by battle or card effects. This thing is awesome. It's one of the like just trolliest hand traps in the archetype, and really helps the archetype be able to just have some sort of longevity and protection. That's another big thing. It needs protection, Trojan max protection, and this helps. This guy not so much. Super Heavy Samurai Fist, level 2 Earth, 900 attack, 900 defense. Really cool looking design. Kind of reminds me of the Hellgas from Killzone with like the head thing and everything. But I digress. He's a machine tuner effect monster. During your battle phase, if your Super Heavy Samurai monster destroyed an opponent's monster by battle this turn, you can, as a quick effect, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one synchro monster using materials you control, including this card. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can target a Super Heavy Samurai synchro you control, reduce its level by 1, and if you do, special summon this card from your graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except for Super Heavy Samurai monsters. You can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai Fist once per turn. So Fist has a garbage main monster effect in terms of being on the field, in that you get to do a quick effect special synchro summon, but you got to kill an opponent's monster by battle, and then you get to synchro summon after that. That's way too situational and not particularly great. What is actually not half bad is his special summoning effect that allows for synchro climbing and all sorts of cool stuff with that. That being said, there's better monsters that can be special summoned. The nicest thing about this is that he's a level 2 tuner that can easily special summon himself, but again, you got better options than this guy, and we will probably be covering him very, very soon, so I can't recommend Fist. Maybe as a 1-of, just for being able to reduce a dude's level and just keep on like, synchro climbing and all that, but you got better options. Like, for instance, Super Heavy Samurai Battle Ball. Level 2 Dark. Oh, okay, so there are other attributes in the archetype. Machine Tuner Effect Monster, 100 attack, 800 defense. If all monsters you control are Super Heavy Samurai monsters, and you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls that has a level. Send both this and this card, send both it and this card from your field to the graveyard, then special summon from your extract one Super Heavy Samurai Synchro monster whose levels equal the total original levels of those two monsters in the graveyard. This is treated as a synchro summon. So, Oh, hey, my opponent has a level 5 out. Okay, Battle Ball effect, target deck dude, summon this level 7 for free, using opponent's stuff, or a level 10 if it's a level 8, so on and so forth. Battle Ball is really, really, really good for the archetype in the sense that he's free monster removal and you get a synchro out of it. That being said, though, with the prevalence of, well, Lynx and Xyzes that, you know, don't have levels, Battle Ball is not particularly great in a lot of situations. So, how many you play really depends on the format. Personally, I recommend 2. If we got a more monster level heavy focus format going on, maybe he can be a good 3 of. I only wish that, like, you could use them on, like, Dragoon or something. Oh, wait, well, Dragoon can't be targeted anyways. That's, like, the worst thing about this guy is that he has to target it, which really does suck. But it is a nice 2-of for the deck. Then we got the best synchro tuner, dude. The Superheavy Samurai Trumpeter. Funny how the first of the tuners is also, like, the best still. He's a level 2 Earth tuner monster, 300 attack, 600 defense. If you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can spell summon this card from your hand. After this card was spell summoned this way, you can only special summon monsters that are Super Heavy Samurai monsters. If this card is tributed for the tribute summon of a Super Heavy Samurai monster and sent to the graveyard, and you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can spell summon this card. So, something that like the guy in the anime did was summon 2 of these, tribute them off for the Big Benkei, and then use both of their effects to bring them back. You can do that if you want to, but the biggest thing is that he's a free special summon. There's no once per turn clause on here, so you get all sorts of just free synchro summons, free special summons, free link summons, all that fun stuff. The worst part about him is that he locks you into only Super Heavy Samurais, which means that it's very hard to make good Naturia Beast in this archetype, which really does suck, but it is doable. You just got to be smart about how you do your plays and all that fun stuff. So, it is doable, but however, I can't deny that this thing is the best of the tuners. It's just so good for synchroing, so good for special summoning, and it has also a pretty decent effect on being used as tribute fodder if you really need to do that, but obviously, hopefully you won't have to, but it is there just in case. Play 2 to 3 of it very easily, it's not even a question. Moving on, we got another one of the best cards, Super Heavy Samurai Flutist, level 3 Earth, machine effect, 500 attack, 1000 defense. You contribute this card, special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand. During your player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. You can only use each effect of Super Heavy Samurai Flutist once per turn. So, not only do you get a special summon off of tributing him, which can, you know, summon out the big boss monsters without tributing them, that's pretty nice, but you also get protection from targeting, which means that, oh, hey, my dude who I just, you know, protected with Soulfire Suit, and now you're trying to get away with it with, like, Castell or something, oh, okay, I'm going to banish Flutist, negate the activation of that Castell, and destroy it, because, hey, you were targeting one of my dudes. This is such a good card, and honestly, I just wish this deck had an archetypal Force Burial to dump them in the graveyard all the time. So, unfortunately, we don't have that. So, yeah, do definitely play 3 of them. He gets himself in the graveyard easy enough, and gets you a free summon. So, very, very, very good. Next up, we got a card that I used to be a really big fan of, but I've been finding him less and less useful in the archetype. Super Heavy Samurai Giga Gloves, level 3 Earth, Chain Effect monster. 100 attack, 1000 defense. If it's sent to the graveyard and you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, then place them on the top of your deck in any order. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, excavate the top card of your deck, and if it is a Super Heavy Samurai monster, add it to your hand. And if you do, the attacking monster's attack becomes 0. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. Obviously, the whole idea with him is, oh, you send him to the graveyard, even if, like, he gets sent there for a synchro summon or stuff and all that fun things. Okay, cool, I look at the top 5 cards of my deck, put Super Heavy Samurais on top, oh, you attack me directly, banish Giga Gloves, add it to my hand, drop your dude's attack to 0. And the attack drop is permanent, too, which is really funny. So this card used to be a really good option for the deck, especially since it had just a lot going for it. It's a level 3 Earth monster, so you can make a good old Naturia Beast with him and Trumpeter. So really, really good card in theory, but he's kind of dropped off in, well, recent years because he's just too slow for what the archetype wants to do. Still a handy card, maybe might be worth it in slower formats, but not right now. Moving on, we got Super Heavy Samurai Swordsman. One of the first 3 Super Heavy Samurais, and it shows he's a level 3 Earth Machine, 1000 attack, 1800 defense. If he's normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position. If a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control battles an opponent's monster, after damage calc, that opponent's monster's attack and defense becomes 0. Not good. You only played him back in the day because there was only 3 Super Heavy Samurais, and even then he wasn't good back then, and he's still not good now. Cool design though, I gotta say, but just not particularly great. Next up we got Super Heavy Samurai Prepped Defense. He's a level 3 Earth Machine effect, 100 attack, 2100 defense. Cannot be normal summoned or flip summoned. If you have any spell trap cards in your graveyard, when you take battle damage, if you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard and this card is in your hand, you can spell summon this card. And if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. So this is a really interesting card. He just gets himself on the field whenever you take battle damage. So like for instance, oh, your opponent cleared your board and they went for an OTK. They hit you once. Okay, prep defense effect, special summon. Okay, cool. He can't be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn, so you don't have to worry about him getting killed and then you getting nuked as well. The issue is that prep defense, like with, well, the issue of the entire Super Heavy Samurai archetype, is that there's just such a heavy reliance on monster effect negation that more than likely if your opponent has a board where they're going to kill you, they have like an Apollousa or something and they're going to negate prep defense. And so he's just not really that good anymore. He's a nice one-of if you really want to have him, but it's just not particularly worth it because you can literally play any other hand trap to stop attacks and stuff. Like, for instance, Battle Fader or Scarecrow or whatever if you really want to stop battles. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Soulbane Cannon. Level 3 Earth Machine Effect Monster, 1k attack, 1000 defense. You can equip him onto a Super Heavy Samurai. It gains 1000 defense. During your player's battle phase, when your opponent activates a card effect while you control a defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, and if you do, both players take 1000 damage. This thing's basically Ring of Destruction, but in a graveyard, and it's really funny. So if your opponent activates a card effect while you have a defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster, and it's either player's battle phase, banish from the graveyard, negate that card, and then destroy it, and then you destroy as everything else. It's hilarious. This card is really, really funny, and really good, too, because, hey, negation and mass destruction, and burn damage on top of it. This is actually really good for the archetype, and makes one of the better attack, or rather defense buff Super Heavy Samurai Soul monster. So I do think he's a good one of, maybe a 2 of as well if you really want to, but I think a 1 of is best. Next up we got Soul Shield Wall. This thing used to be one of the main ones you played purely because it granted the best defense boost, that. But nowadays it's not particularly great to even consider running. Soul Shield Wall is a level 3 Earth, 1200 attack, 1200 defense. You can target a Super Heavy Samurai control, equip it, yada yada yada. Equip monster gains 1200 defense. When the equipped monster equipped to this card, by its effect is targeted for an attack, you can send this card from to the graveyard, negate that attack, but equipped monster's defense becomes 0. Obviously, this is also supposed to work in tandem with good old Soulbreaker armor. In fact, I think they're originally released in the same set, but they aren't really worth considering because, well, I mean, a defense buff of 1200 is not particularly great. And the negation and dropping my defense down to 0 is just not particularly great either. It's just not as handy as some of the other stuff. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Wagon. It took way too long for us to get this card, by the way. He's a level 4 Earth Machine, 1200 attack, 1800 defense. If it's normal or special, you can change its battle position. This card can attack one face-up defense position, and then it applies yada 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 for calculation. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can change this face-up defense position card you control to attack position, and if you do, add one Super Heavy Samurai Soul monster from your deck to your hand. You only use this effect as Samurai Wagon once per turn. So this guy's kind of like supposed to be the peddler of the arms and everything, you know, the weapons, the soul armors and soul breakers and soul weapons and all that. This thing just searches them out, and you need to play 3 of him because he helps tie the deck all together. Thankfully, partly because of the best of the soul monsters, who we're going to get to here shortly. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Skills. He's a level 4 Earth Machine, 800 attack, 1800 defense. If your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target a level 4 lower Super Heavy Samurai in your graveyard, accept a copy from himself special summon it in defense position. You can only use this effect of Super Heavy Samurai skills once per turn. I don't think I need to say this, but play 3. He's just too good not to. He's a monster revival, and he's a combo maker and all that, so definitely do play 3 of him. And then we also got another card that you can totally play 2 or 3 of. It's a bit more situational because you got to have him in hand, but oh well. Superheavy Samurai Magnet, level 4, 900 attack, 1900 defense, Earth Machine. When he's a normal summon, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Superheavy Samurai from your hand and change this card to defense position. Monsters your opponent controls cannot attack any monsters except this one. So Magnet is really, really nice because, well, he's Marauding Captain for the deck. Not much more to say than that. Do play at least 2. I personally think 3 is probably the better one to go with, but I've been testing out 2 and it's been working just as good. So it's down to what your personal preference is, especially since it only triggers on normal summon. Then we got Super Heavy Samurai Kabuto, level 4 Earth Machine, 1000 attack, 2k defense. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can change as many attack positions Super Heavy Samurai monsters you control as possible to defense position, and if you do, the once changed by this effect gains 500 defense until the end of this turn. This guy came out in the second wave of support, if I remember correctly, and it is garbage. Even worse than some of the stuff that came out in the first wave. Seriously, don't play it. It's not good. Then we got Super Heavy Samurai Blue Brawler, one of the first wave of support, and arguably the second, actually no, he was the second best, and was played in the Archetype, like, religiously up until very recently when they got Wagon, and of course they're going to be getting more stuff. Blue Brawler is a level 4 Earth Machine, 0 attack, 2k defense. Whenever he's summoned, you can change him to defense, and then he can't be destroyed by battle. He's a 2k attacker who can't be destroyed by battle, so yeah, he's really nice, but it's not particularly great nowadays because 2k attack, or rather defense, I guess, just isn't enough to really be worth considering. The battle protection is really nice, but it's just not worth it when you got better options to continue your plays into bigger, better things. Then we got the best boy, Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer, level 4 Earth Machine effect, 1200 attack, 0 defense. One of the few Super Heavies who has more attack than he does defense. You can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control. Equip this monster from your hand to your side of the field. The equipped monster gains piercing damage, and if this card is sent to the graveyard from the field, you can add one Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand, except a copy of Soul Piercer. That's not once per turn. That's not once per turn. This card is broken, or at least borderline broken. Okay, the piercing is irrelevant, but you can equip them, and you will equip them onto guys quite often, especially if like you happen to have the Lone Fire Blossom Soul Monster, because you equip both of them, and then you tribute special summon like good old, I don't know, Scales. Soul Piercer will search out somebody else, like, I don't know, Trumpeter, and then Scales will summon Piercer from a graveyard, special summon Trumpeter from hand, Synchro for 10 for Susanoo. Oh, hey, I get another search, and it's just so stupid. It's not once per turn, and it just allows you to just search out your entire deck except itself, and Wagon can search them out. So you typically, like, one of the best things you can do is normal summon Wagon, switch them to defense, equip the Soul Piercer, not the Soul Piercer, but equip the dude who can, like, tribute himself to summon out a dude from the deck, you know what I mean, the one, I can't remember his name, the level 1... yeah, Soul Peacemaker. So you equip Soul Peacemaker, and then you switch good old Wagon to attack mode to search out Soul Piercer, equip Soul Piercer, or, you know, in reverse, whichever one you happen to not have. Effect of Soul Peacemaker, tribute off Wagon, effective, well, to summon out Scales. Scales effect, summon Piercer. Piercer effect when it was sent to graveyard to search out Trumpeter, special summon Trumpeter, Synchro for Susanoo, effect of Soul Piercer again to search out another dude. Could be anybody you want, doesn't matter. It can be good old Boom Big Bang or whatever, and then you just continue on from there. It's so good, not being once per turn. And then you can even, there's more ways where you can get more plays, like with the Link monster. You can, before you go into Susanoo, you can link off into the Link monster for Soul Piercer. Soul Piercer effect again to search, and then the Link monster effect to discard and summon Soul Piercer from graveyard, Synchro for Susanoo Den, and then you get another search. That's 3 searches off of a single Soul Piercer. if this archetype ever gets like some broken support, Soul Piercer could be a card that could actually get hit because it's not once per turn, and it is stupid. I love it. This card, play 3. The piercing is neat, but it's not the important thing. The not once per turn searching is the big one, and you can abuse it so heavily in the deck. I love it. Moving on, we got Superheavy Samurai Big Rorarji. Level 5, 800 attack, 1800 defense. If you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can spell summon this card from your hand. After this card is spell summon, you cannot spell summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for Super Heavy Samurai monsters, and he can be used as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a machine type monster. So Big Rorarji, I actually used to really hate, but he just doesn't do much other than being really good Synchro and Link plays. So he is worth playing as a 1-2 of, but however, I mean, like, that's totally down to personal opinion. In the deck profile I'm going to show at the end, I don't play them, but however, you can totally play 1-2 of them quite easily if you really want to. Next up, we got a dude you do not want to play, Superheavy Samurai Transporter. This is used for an OTK combo in the anime, and it shows, because it reeks of an anime card. So, Transporter, level 5, 1200 attack, 1800 defense. If you have no spell check cards in your graveyard, you can spell summon this card from your hand. After this card was spell summoned this way, you can spell summon for, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except for Superheavy Samurais. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you contribute this card, special summon up to 2 monsters from your hand. Sounds good so far, right? Well, to your opponent's side of the field in defense position, then draw cards equal to the number of monsters spell summoned by this effect. You can only use this effect of Transporter once per turn. Okay. I know this was used for a combo in the anime for an OTK in like a 3-person duel, you know, like 3 people versus 3 people or whatever. But what? Just what? So you tribute him, so you neg 1 to give your opponent 2 monsters, and then you draw 2, and then since you're playing Superheavy Samurais, you're going to be having an issue with, I don't know, having a follow-up play. The best thing that you could do, like, ideally, is to give them 2 Soul Piercers, so that then you can run them over, and then use Soul Piercer's effect twice to get 2 searches. But, like, worst case scenario, they have a board already, or you give them monsters and it's the first turn and you can't get rid of them, and then your opponent just has 2 free link material. It's not good. Don't play Transporter, please. Moving on, we got Superheavy Samurai General Jade. The other of the 2 Pendulum monsters, he's a level 8, scale 1. You cannot summon, well, you cannot Pendulum monsters except Superheavy Samurais. This effect cannot be negated. Once per turn, you can target a Superheavy Samurai monster you control, increase its level by 1, even if this card leaves the field. Really nice level modulation effect. Really wish it didn't lock into Super Heavies only, but hey, whatever. You contribute this monster. You contribute summon this monster by tripping 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster. When this card is normal or spell summon, you can change its battle position. This card can attack on face-up defense position and applies defense for damage calculation. Being a 2800 speeder, he's pretty decent and makes a good side card along. Well, not by side, because I'm literally siding it in, but makes a good level 8 to go along with Big Bang K, who we will get to here in a second. So, I do honestly recommend playing one of them because he's so easy to summon, and also because he's a low-scale Pendulum monster for the Archetype. And the level modulation is pretty nice. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Big Ben K. He's a level 8, 1,000 attack, 3,500 defense. So, really, you might as well just say he has 3,500 attack. Whenever he's summoned, you can change its battle position. Super Heavy Samurai monsters you control can attack while in face-up defense position, and if they do, apply their defense for damage calculation. So, I think before they decided they were going to make this a Synchro archetype and give all the Synchros that inherent effect without having to have Big Bang K out, the idea was to get Big Bang K out and just be able to just beat over your opponent's monsters with stuff. And that was how the deck was played for a really long time. If I remember right, there was actually a Super Heavy Samurai OTK deck that did really well at a regional or something, where basically there's an equip card where you can equip a monster. It loses like 1,000 attack or something, but it can attack twice, and then you can machine dupe Big Ben K for 2 more Big Ben Ks, and then, oh hey, you have a Big Ben K that can attack twice, and 2 more Big Ben Ks for 3,500 damage, because the card only that gives your monster 2 attacks only reduces attack, not defense. If I remember right, that actually did really well at a regional once back when this deck first came out. But however, it's not really, that's not how you play the deck anymore. Would be a funny thing to mess around with, though, I will admit. But nowadays, Big Ben K is only really worth playing as a one-of, and even then, that's debatable at best. Because there are a lot of people who don't want to play Big Ben K anymore, because, I mean, he doesn't have much going for him other than granting your dudes being able to, well, attack and defense. He can't be tribute summoned with 1 tribute. He can't be special summoned off the pendulum effects. You have to either dump him in the graveyard and bring him back with a revival effect, or tribute 2 monsters to summon him. That's not good, and that sucks. That being said, though, he, along with General Jade, do allow for the easiest way to make their best synchro monster, Susanoo, who we will get to here in a moment. So he's still worth playing as a one-of at times, but it's really down to what your personal preference is in that regard. So, moving on, we got Superheavy Samurai Thief. Here's a level 10, 1k attack, 1k defense. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can spell summon it from your hand. You cannot summon anything except for Superheavy Samurais that turn. You can tribute this card to activate one of these effects. Destroy 1 card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone, then you can set the destroyed spell or trap card on your side of the field. Destroy 1 card in your opponent's pendulum zones, then you can place the destroyed card in your pendulum zone. Basically, you tribute him. He's an MST who steals your opponent's back row. You can obviously tell that this is made before the pendulum zones are placed into the back row, so that is something to keep in mind. But, however, still pretty nice that he can just steal stuff very easily. Moving on, let's get on to the extract. First and foremost, we got Superheavy Samurai Scarecrow to Link 1, who, if I remember correctly, is coming out in Rise of the Duelist, finally. He needs 1 Superheavy Samurai monster, cannot be used as Link material. While you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you take no battle damage from attacks involving him. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can discard 1 card, then target a Superheavy Samurai in your graveyard, spell summon it in defense position to your zone discard points to. You can only use this effect as Scarecrow once per turn. You play 2. This thing is really, really good for being a really good combo enabler. And it just dawned on me, he's a bunch of the Superheavy Samurai Soul monsters put together on a Scarecrow. I never noticed that until now. He's got Snowpiercer, the arms, he's some of the armor. Okay, that's hilarious. I love that. So he's very, very handy for what the deck wants to do. As I mentioned, you can equip him with, I forget which one it was, but the Soul Breaker armor to where, like, oh, your opponent can't kill him in battle, and you take no damage from battles involving him, but that's not particularly great. There's better things to do with him, and you can just use him for tons of combos and all that fun stuff. Moving on, we got Swordmaster Musashi. He's a level 5, 300 attack, 2300 defense, machine synchro, 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. When a synchro summon, you can target a machine in your graveyard, add it to your hand, and if you do, if you have a spell or trap card in your graveyard, you cannot normal summon or spell summon that monster, or monsters with its name for the rest of its turn. And you can attack on defense and apply its defense as damage calculation. He's decent stats, easy to make in the Archetype. Typically speaking, you would prefer to make Barkion, but you can't always make Barkion thanks to how just archetype-centric this archetype is. But however, you do definitely want to play 1-2 of them because you can grab back your soul armor monsters and all that other fun stuff. So definitely really good to play. Moving on, we got Superheavy Samurai Ogre Shuten Doji. He's level 6, 2500 defense, 500 attack. Needs 1 machine type tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner Superheavy Samurai monsters. He can attack one defense position and applies his defense for damage calculation. And when he's synchro summoned, you can, while you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can destroy all spell trap cards your opponent controls. He's a walking heartbeat feather duster. So, oh hey, you have a back row? Okay, I'm going to summon Shuten Doji, destroy everything. Oh wait, you're just impermanence him. Cool, I baited your impermanence, so now I get to do other stuff. So, it's not the worst thing in the world. He's really good in certain formats, but he kind of sucks in other formats. Depends on how back row reliant the format is. That being said, you're always going to want to play at least 1 because he's super easy to make in the Archetype, being a level 6. And he's a pretty big beefy boy. He's got 2500 defense, so definitely do at least play 1, 2, and more back row centric formats. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Stealth Ninja. He's a level 7, 1200 attack, 2100 defense, 1 machine type tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner machine type monsters. He can attack on face of defense and applies his defense for damage calc. All the synchros can do that, so I'm just going to stop reading it. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can half discard your original defense at the end of this turn, and if you do, this card can attack your opponent directly this turn. Once per turn, during the next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can spell summon this card. I really like the fact that he can attack directly for 1400. That's not particularly great, but hey, he's got 2000 defense for just running over stuff in general. And I do also like the fact that he can special summon himself if he gets destroyed by a card effect. So he's a good one-of. He's not a particularly great monster, but since you get locked into super heavies all the time, he is really good as a one-of to play just in case. Then we got Super Heavy Samurai Ninja Sarutobi. He's a level 8, 2k attack, 2800 defense. Same summoning conditions as Tooting Doji, needing a machine type tuner and a 1 or more Super Heavy Samurais. Can attack on defense position, yada yada yada. Once per turn during your first turn, if you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can target a spell trap card your opponent controls, or sorry, on the field in general, destroy it, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. So the biggest thing is obviously he's a quick effect MST, he's a walking one at least, and so being able to just destroy back row for him is really, really good. And also that random burn damage, it just pops up again, but hey, it can help out in time. So do definitely consider playing at least one, maybe even 2 of, since he's not hard to make in the deck. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Beast Kyubi, who's level 9 and is significantly harder to make in the archetype. I think I've summoned him maybe once or twice. 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurais. This card can attack one face-up defense position. Yada yada yada. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, this card gains 900 defense for each spell summon monster your opponent controls. So obviously the big thing is that he gains a crap ton of defense, and he can go for a really, really big attack, like a single attack, or if you have like ways of letting him attack multiple times, like with soul horns and stuff like that. Really, really handy for being able to go for OTKs, and it's not a bad idea to try and make a QB focused deck around him. So he is a good one-of in the standard builds, but if you want to make a QB OTK deck, you totally can, so it's down to you. Next up, we got the best boy, Super Heavy Samurai Warlord Susanoo. Level 10, 2400 attack, 3800 defense, 1 machine type tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters, and the first synchro that the archetype got, if I remember correctly. Can attack in defense position, yada yada yada. Once per turn during your opponent's turn, if you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can target a spell trap card in your opponent's graveyard, set it to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Oh, your opponent used Pot of Desires earlier in the game? Cool, I'm going to steal it and use it for my own. Oh, Upstart Goblin's in there too? I'm going to do that too. Oh, hey, it's a Shadal format. I'm going to steal my opponent's Shadal fusion, and I cited in Shadal's in game 2, so I'm going to use Shadal fusion, summon Sheki Naga, and I got 2 level 10s, and make Gustav Max. I did that back when Shadal's first were like really, really popular, and Super Heavy Samurai's got their first wave of support and stuff, but their second wave of support. But I digress. It's a really, 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 really good card, and just allows you to just abuse all sorts of fun stuff, and your opponent doesn't get it back. So if they play any kind of recursion, or if they got an archetypal card down there that you don't want them having because they can recur it, or, oh my god, if they have, like, I don't know, something that protects their stuff that they have, like Return of the Dragon Lords or whatever, you can steal that too, and now they don't have protection in the graveyard. Really, really mean card overall. I love him. Play 2. He's the main guy you're going to be summoning all the time in the archetype. Then we got Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. Oh boy, he's a level 12, 1 Super Heavy Samurai tuner plus 2 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters. Can attack on defense position. He has a whopping 2000 attack, 4800 defense by the way, compared to Susanoo's 2438, so yeah, this thing is huge. Once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards and target that many cards your opponent controls. Destroy them. I really wish there was a quick effect for how hard this thing is to summon. Once per turn, you can banish all spell and trap cards from the graveyards, and if you do, inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card banished. So, fun fact, back when Sky Striker were first getting really big, and we got oh god, what was it called? That trap card that if your opponent gets rid of it, you could summon any dude from your deck or extra deck. Oh hey, your opponent gets rid of that, you summon Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. Affect the Train King, banish everything in the graveyard. Now, Sky Strikers don't have any spell trap cards in their graveyard. Was really mean. Saw a bit of play, and this guy actually kind of, I think he got bought out too because of that. But I digress. This thing is really cool. He's not particularly great, mainly because neither of his good effects, which they're both good effects, neither one of them are quick effects. And this thing's a level 12 that needs 3 monsters to go into. And on top of that, he's hard to make in the archetype. The only time I'm able to summon him is if I'm using Scales, Shootin' Doji, and Trumpeter. Or heck, any level 4, for that matter, instead of Scales. So, you know, it could be Magnet, Shootin' Doji, Trumpeter. It's really hard to make him in this archetype is what I'm trying to say. So, because he's hard to make, and because his effects aren't quick effects, he's oftentimes not even worth making instead of Susanoo. So, I do recommend playing 1 just for certain situations where he is good, and because, hey, he's a 4800 beater, so you can easily go for an OTK if you drop the Soul Puncher on one of your opponents with him, because he jumps up to, what, 9600? So, yeah. Now we got the overall stuff. So, the biggest issue with this archetype is it's in just dire need of more good monsters. It has quite a few good ones, but they're just not good enough to be really particularly great. This deck is borderline a decent rogue deck. It's just so close, but it's not there. The anti-spell trap card playstyle really does harm the deck more than it helps. This deck would be a lot better if it could make use of all the really good machine support, like machine dupe and all that, but you can't, and the deck actively goes against that, unless you get ways of, like, unless you get, like, Steam Train out, like, first turn, and then you can start banishing your spells and stuff from your graveyard more commonly. It's not particularly great. And you can't even make use of stuff like, I don't know, Macrocosmos to make sure that you dot no spell and trap cards in your graveyard, because it would also get rid of your monsters, and that hurts deck even more. So, it's a really hard sell on a lot of stuff. But that being said, this archetype also has some really good outside support. Performance Power card Gardna, who we are also getting finally in Rise of the Duelist, is a really good pendulum for the deck. He's a level 3. We got him up here on the picture for you. Level 3, 800 attack, 1000 attack, 1000 defense, scale 8, so he's a really good high scale. And then once per turn, you can target a face-up defense position monster you control. Its defense becomes the combined original defense of all face-up defense position monsters you control, even if he leaves the field. So he can just jack up one of your dudes to an incredibly high amount of attack power to be able to go for huge damage. Then you got Marmaduke Captain, who is a level 3 warrior. Whenever you summon him, you can, like, draw a card if it's a monster, special summon it, something like that. I can't remember exactly. Then you got Genzo and the Fiend monsters, like Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, all that fun stuff. Really, really helpful for just being able to just lock out your opponent's summons and everything. And then you also got hand traps in general. The deck has to rely on a heavy use of hand traps because it doesn't have access to a lot of really good stuff that the archetype is in desperate need of, most notably the back row. So here's my current build of the deck that I've been testing out. Expect a replay and deck profile where I'm going to go into more stuff about it later on. As you can see, playing a lot of hand traps. You have to, because you can't play spell and trap cards. You have to make up for that with the hand traps, and that can greatly limit what the deck wants to do with everything else. So it does suck with that, and because of the fact that you are locked into Super Heavy so often with stuff like Trumpeter and everything, a lot of the extra deck has to be Super Heavy Samurais, even whenever you don't want them to be. So it's really, really hard in order to actually be able to make this deck particularly great because of that, but I still love it. A lot of people still love it, especially since it won the poll so easily. So, yeah, it's a personal big favorite of mine from the anime, from Arc V. The guy who played it, Go, was an amazing character as well. And I don't know, I really hope this deck gets more support. I don't think it needs any more synchros. It has good synchros. Maybe one more if Konami really wants to give them another synchro. But I want to see them get more monsters that are really good, especially more really good soul monsters. A lot of the souls just aren't worth playing, which really sucks. Because, like, we got Soul Piercer, we got Wagon, we got Soul Peacemaker, Soul Bead, Soul Gunbuster. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but you don't need all the, like, so many of the souls are just so close to being good, but they're not, and so you kind of just got to rely on the good ones to really make up for that. So, I don't know. That's my personal opinion. What do you guys think about Super Heavy Samurais? Do you like the deck? Do you hate it? What do you think they need? Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Peace out and everything. Also, guys, I'm sorry about the absolute lack of uploads for the past few weeks. A lot's been going on between work and trying to find a job in my college, in my profession that I chose, and also, I've mentioned it before, but I do not have the greatest mental health, if I'm being 100% honest, so I just have not been I've just not been in the mood to really do anything other than just lay in bed and play video games, and that's not good. I got to get back in the swing of things and get back into, you know, doing stuff. And so I apologize if this also was a bit rocky, because I kind of got the feeling I gotta get back in the swing of things. I gotta do it, and I know this is gonna be a big one. I'm scared to see how long this is. So thank you all, guys. Thank you for your patience. And hey, we're getting really close to 3K subscribers. Share the video and comment down below, because the more traction we get, the faster we get to 3K, and that's going to be awesome. So peace out, guys. Have a great day and be safe out there. Thank you all for watching the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. Rate, comment, and subscribe. And see y'all later.